Hi, welcome to Bookwood. I'm glad you chose to spend some time with me. If you haven't met before, my name is Mashou and I create bookish and journal related content over here on YouTube. Welcome in my weekly carousel vlog, and I'm sorry it's late this week. Life has been busy over the last few days and that's perfectly fine. We're just one day late. In this vlog I will talk to you about the first two books that I've read for my own readathon, the Wanhériffe War. Everything about that up there in the corner. And we'll also talk a little bit about the books we read for the kids challenge. And I think that also Tilia has a book she wants to talk to you about. The first one I'm going to mention is this one, which is Her Radiant Curse in English. And I have read this book, it was the first I read for the Kondruzi tribe. And I also read this for TB Marathon. So there will be a dedicated vlog on this book coming up next Thursday. So I'm not going to go into detail about this book, but I enjoyed it a whole lot. And after reading this one for the Kondruzi, let's get this out of the way, read a book with a similar page count for the Aduatusi tribe. And for that I picked this one. It is called, in French, Les Sorcières du Phare, but in English it is called The Lighthouse Witches. And again, this was a book that really gripped me. I enjoyed it a whole lot. So in this book we are following Luna. We are in a present timeline when she's grown up and she gets the word that her little sister who was missing was found. And we will have flashbacks to 1998, if I'm not mistaken, in several point of views, her mother's and then her older sisters mainly, in which we will see how the mother takes her three daughters with her to a small Scottish island where she is commissioned to paint a fresque, a mural painting inside an abandoned lighthouse, because a writer wants to make this his writing space. And this lighthouse is known to be the place where there were some witch trials and is said to be cursed by the witches that were burned there. Through the point of view of Luna's older sister, we will have an idea of what happened in the period of these witch hunts and trials, because she's reading a manuscript that's like a diary that is telling the events that were taking place at that time. And in the two, let's say, past timelines, we will see that there is part of this curse, of this haunting, the appearing of what the people call wildlings. These are basically fae who took the place of the humans, and they need to be killed, saying the legend, because they are there to kill and create chaos. And how these wildlings are being approached. The Luna, when her sister comes back, finds out not only that her sister is still the 7 years old as 22 years ago, she's also marked with the numbers, and strange things start to happen. And Luna is going back to the island to understand really what happened there and what happened to her sister. And of course that's the whole clue of the book, so I'm not going to tell you. I didn't really know what I expected going into this. It was on my wanting to read list for a very long time. I liked the witchy element of it and the like the more mythological part of the wildlings and looking for what happened, all combined. And I really enjoyed this read. The atmosphere was fantastic. The characters really made me feel a lot of emotions, if it is for them or for what is happening overall in the story. And I was so gripped that it kept me up reading. I wasn't able to put it down. It is a super good read, and now I'm looking forward because I have read on this on the back cover that it's going to be a series. And I do not watch a lot of television, but I might want to watch this one. I recommend if you like mysterious and maybe a little bit scary things, you could read this one. The ending is very surprising.
So I also read Comment voyager dans les terres oubliées by Sarah Brooks. It's a story it's a complicated one. So the main idea is we have this train that's gonna go from one continent to another in between infested lands. And so there's this train, there's only one by a big company who is mostly protected, but something went wrong on the last time it did its way. last way it did. And so we have a few persons who's gonna trying to find out mainly what happened. We have a lot of different point of views. One is from Maria, and we're gonna learn it's a daughter about someone who was on the last time the train went. We're gonna have a very scientific man who really just wanna document everything they can. Humans really want to document what's happened in those infested lands, but it's complicated because no one really comes back if they really try to. I found it very confusing at first. There's a lot of questions, and I'm gonna be honest, most of them don't really get answers, which is something I really don't like about stories in general, or books or movies. And so I found it confusing, but it was very easy to follow, to read. It's an easy writing, still very beautiful. So I know Mom read it too. She gave it 5 stars, really loved it. I don't really know what she said other about it. I found it most confusing, so I only gave it 3. But overall, it was very fun. I read that one for wrote on the cover. I'm in the Condrusi team, Louise's team. And so I read that one for that prompt, and I read Olivetti was for find out the truth, because it's a story about finding out the truth. So those are the 2 books I read this week, and maybe I'll be back next week with another book. Bye!
I'm here to introduce the next B-roll. We planned to go to an open sky film or movie night organized in Namur, which was, luckily for us, showing a movie of Astérix and Obélix. Astérix and Obélix is a comic book series that depicts 2 Celts and their adventures, and one of those, Obélix, has fallen into a magic potion that druid, a panoramix, I think it is, brew, so that he is now extremely strong. It's something that is part of the local, I would say, myths and legends of this potion that druids make to give people strength and courage during fights. And in this series, they are always getting caught in very funny situations. This is very much made to be humoristic. Unfortunately, that night it was very windy and very gray, and I decided not to go to this movie night because, well, I was afraid of getting a bunch of rain over us, and we wouldn't need that. And we then brought this movie night to our house, and we watched a movie because there are several of Astérix and Obélix at home with the kids. This one is called Mission Cléopatre or Mission Cléopatre, and the heroes are called to Egypt because there is this architect who has to build a huge palace for Kaiser, Julius Caesar, in only 3 months, and it's not possible. And so we'll have a lot of very funny situations with that. We had a very good time. We had a few good laughs, and it seems my kids enjoyed this movie a lot, which I didn't expect because this franchise is a little bit older.
Un ancien poème égyptien dit
after reading the lighthouse switches for the Adua to see, I had them pick the prompt I was going to read for the Controzy, and they picked Fur, and so I read this one, which is called Le Serment des Sept Miroirs, Le Secret de Terre Creuse. It is unfortunately a French only book, and this is also the third book in a series that I have been reading. This is officially middle grade, but I feel it is really pushing the limit between middle grade and young adult. We are with teens more than primary school kids. I switched places because the farmer who owns the fields where we were walking around arrived with several tractors to do the mesting of his fields, and I didn't want to be in his way, even if we're not in the fields themselves, and also I didn't want to stay in the smell of the mast. So I moved over here, and we were talking about Le Secret de Terre Creuse, which is the third book in Le Serment des Sept Miroirs. This is a series that highly probably will not be translated, and so I will tell you the story. Well, not all the details of it, but the overlying story. If you speak French and you want to read this series, then please use the chapters down below to skip ahead to not be spoiled. In this series, we are following Nalice, and she is growing up with a man she calls Grandpa, who adopted her on a little floating island that is part of a bigger series of those who form a nation, the nation of the Sylphs. She and her grandpa both are a little bit outcasts. He because events we will learn later on, and she because she clearly is not one of theirs. She has pink hair, and Sylphids all have grayish, silverish hair. So everybody knows she's not one of theirs. But when she is 13, together with all the others of her age, she needs to go up to this high school where she will be taught in how to use and master the powers of the wind. They do not only use the wind with wings, they make like steampunkish to float from one platform to the other. They also seem to be able to catch messages through the wind, like if it was some kind of telephone line, and keep memories in the wind. It is a very vague magic system that is not explained in depth, but it works fine in this very original world. Nalice is not really accepted by the others. She has also some troubles in some of the courses. And on top of that, she will be plagued by strange visions that will turn out to be linked to some strange events. They all know the history of the world. Something happened, the humans went too far, were too greedy, and the gods punished them, destroying their society and creating these different tribes that now have their own place to be with their own specificities. Or at least, that's what everybody remembers. But investigating the things that happen and the visions that she has, Nalice discovers that there is more to this story than people know or have learned over the years. It seems that there were also created 7 mirrors that have to be protected each by one of the tribes, and that guard to keep inside the madness of the humankind. And someone is trying to break these mirrors to leave the madness out. Unfortunately, the Wind People mirror does break, and Nalice and her grandfather and a few friends around her has to flee. Also, the whole floating island is falling back down to earth, so almost everybody ends up having to flee. And when Nalise goes away, flees, she ends up with one of the tribes that live on Earth, the nomadic people of memory. They have the ability to pass on their memory to their children, and so everybody has like generations and generations of memories inside their head that they can access. But it seems that some parts are blocked, of course. These people will escort Nalise to a fortress in the desert where live the people of the books. And those are the guardians of the written words. They take care of this gigantic library, and they keep like copying the books that need to be preserved and stuff like that. And whilst there, they will be met by the people of the words. They can use their voice for many things, but one of those is using their voice as a weapon. And they will betray the people who are leaguing together, and they will manage to break the mirror of the people of the books, which makes that all the books vanish. Well, the book stays, but the letters on the page disappear. Nalise's grandfather is taken prisoner, and she does everything to go and save him, and so she ends up in another city. They are more like people focused on commercial activity and war, and it's quite unclear what they have as a specificity. She will encounter their king and discover that he has a dark secret. He has a mirror, and he turns out to be the one who wants to break the mirrors because he has been talked to by the mirror. There is a being in there who his name is Shah, and Nalise can travel through the mirrors from one place to another, and she also at some point meets Shah, and she thinks he's very strange, but we don't really know more about him. She ends up prisoner, gladiator. And then she's saved by a character that we meet in the first book, was called Mirol, but she's now part of some kind of secret sisterhood. She takes Nalise and her grandfather all the way back to her own people. And then we are arriving in book 3, where she will learn who her mother is, who she is. And it turns out that her mother is part of the original people or race of people, and that the 7th race that they were looking for is the animals, and that they live underground. And so the animals protected these humans from the wrath of the gods and took them down there. And so they decide to go there to ask for help and to see if they can gather information that they need to stop the events happening. Before we go further with Nalise's part of the story, we need also to go a little bit back to the book fortress, where her friends are now joined by the people of the memory, and who are trying to help restore the books, telling their memories so that the scribes can write them down. But they will also get attacked again from the inside, and the mirror of the people of the memory is also broken. And it is by exploring the fortress that her friends have stumbled on words that didn't disappear, that basically appeared when the ink evaporated. And they will learn more about the history of humankind, and that will put her friends into the will of going to look for her. But they will be retarded into that, and they will only meet after a while. Nalise is going down, hunted down by men of this king who have some magical thread they can follow. And when they come down in this world, they learn that the humans there live in servitude to these animals as some kind of punishment for having destroyed the world and some kind of gratefulness of being saved. And that the 7th tribe are not the humans, but the animals. These humans all have flaming red hair, and it is being trapped with the persons who come after her, and then basically be trapped in going back out of this world with the animals as allies and facing the king that is trying to break the mirrors, that she learns that this king is her father. And her mother was one of the other people who heard the call of the sisterhood and who tried to join them. But she is cursed by the gods and they cannot move into the sun. And so it is the king that saved her. He took her with him to his palace and she gave life to twins. And whilst trying to find a way to make that his wife can walk free, he is taken over by this mirror, and he promises this mirror that for saving his wife, he will give up the child she is bearing. But her mother didn't bear one child, she had two, Nalise and her brother Shah. Her mother gave up Shah and she saved Nalise, who in reality is called Astachkak, which is the name they gave to the animal because the name was on the collar of the animal. And she makes this animal take Nalise into safety. Her mother will not survive all the events, and her father will go like completely mad. And Nalise is quite unsettled, and she really wants to protect her brother, but also her friends. So she doesn't really know what to do. She also realizes that she has the mirror of the animal people with her. And she needs to hurry back all the way to the desert city, where together with her friends, and now joined by the people of the voice, because when the king didn't have any useless for them, he broke their mirror. So they went back to the good side, I guess, of the story. And they prepare to be under siege by this king. And of course, well, they go there, they win. They protect the mirror of the people of the flames, who were on their way to the city, but were caught up by the other army. And Nalise decides to hop into the mirror, find her brother. And her brother isn't really a good person. He is heavily manipulated by, let's say, the mirror or the madness of humankind. And so she ends up by trapping in him there, by leaving because there are two mirrors left. By then, she leaves the mirror of one people in there, the one she has, and then she hops out through the other one in her father's castle, breaks that mirror. So her brother is now trapped into this mirror world, can never escape because the only mirror that would allow him is in that world. And on that, her father jumps out of the window. It sounds, when I hear myself tell the story, I'm like, this sounds so confusing and so maybe strange and search too far as a story. But I can assure you, reading it, it was not at all that way. It made complete sense. It could grip you, take you inside, make you want to read on and know what's going to happen. It also has a little epilogue that is more like, and they lived happily forever after, which I always think is a little bit sad, but then in this age group it's logical. And I really enjoyed this quite whimsical series, mainly because of the very unique world. Let's look at the wind by. mainly because of this very unique and whimsical world. I hope that you enjoyed getting to know this story, and if you skipped because you want to read it, I hope that you will have a great time reading it. As I promised in my video on the Kids Challenge, I'm going to talk to you about our favorite book that we read this week. We didn't do very well in picking up the habit of reading a story every day. The kids really prefer to play outside and enjoy the cooler temperatures and the more windy weather even in the evenings now, and they are too tired then to listen to a story. And I also felt quite tired in the evenings. I did try to propose reading several times, but they always turned it away. But we did read 2 books, which is better than none. And our favorite was this one. And in this story, which is called La Petite Lectrice, we are following this princess. This princess lives in her tower. She has the best hobby in the world. She loves to read, which is a little bit of a concern for her parents, the queen and the king, because they are afraid that there will never be her to take over their duties, that she will never accept to become the queen of this country. For some reason, they find that marrying their daughter to a prince will help them out, and so they try to find candidates and send them to their daughter. But she reads so many badass stories that she doesn't need a prince. And then one day there is this monster who attacks the kingdom, and she is the only hope for her people. So she goes out to fight this monster. She discovers it only wants to listen to stories, and she even teaches it to read. On which she decides to create a how would you call it? A going around bookshop, and to sell books and to combat all the evil in the country, to make sure that everybody is in peace. And she sets off against the will of her parents, of course, and she does that. And then she comes back ready to take over her parents' rule. And then to make the circle around, of course, they will have to try to get her married, which will not work. This book has the merit that it managed to keep Maureen's attention from the beginning to the end. And that's not something that happens with every book, and especially not a book that has like more words on the pages. It was written in a very funny way, and we also really loved the art in it. The images are vibrant with colors. They have funny elements like this perspective. And also like very little, I'm looking for a specific one, little winks to reading and stuff like that. This is the going around bookshop. We have like the end pages who are also very beautiful, and we had a lot of fun with it. So if you have children in your life, this is a book that we recommend you to discover. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye to you. I hope you enjoyed coming along on this walk with us, that you enjoyed taking part in our small activities, hearing about the books that we enjoyed. And if you want to see more videos like this, then you can subscribe to this channel. You will find it back more easily. Turn on notifications, which will help you getting to know when there is a new video. But we will also be very grateful if you would like it, so other people can discover it and maybe enjoy it as well. Joy must be shared. I hope you will have a fantastic week. See you soon!